What is going on, garage members? Welcome to the #1 live tuning show in the office right now. Also, the one place where you're guaranteed not to contract the coronavirus. So, I appreciate everybody showing up and quarantining themselves to the YouTube today. So, as people start to roll in here, I will give you a heads up. I am worn out from the time change this week. I did get a nap in today, so I expect you guys to get my blood pumping, get my head screwed on straight. Let's talk about tuning. Nick asks, how do you like that Gladiator? I love it. This is my 4th Jeep, and this is probably my favorite one. Big fan of it so far. Real quick, we'll do a shout out to the new patrons. Got quite a few new patrons this week. Thank you guys for your support. As always, we have Run Wild Idaho, Steven, Will, Moto Jagger, Ricky, Jason, and Colin. Welcome to the garage, everybody. If you're in here, say hi. What's up? That's me. There's Steve right there. Everybody, welcome one of our new patrons. Matthew, you did not. So send me an email, and I will get that forwarded on to Nitrous Express so you can get your shirt. We got a lot of familiar faces in here tonight. Of course, DZ and Hillary are here, as always. Good to see them. VJ, Nick, Theo, Matthew, Clint, S10, John's here, Red X-Ray, Brandon, Paul, Steve Hopkins. What's going on? Steve Van Hook, as always. Thank you for showing up. You under the weather, John? I saw Phil was on here earlier, and he's boarding a flight back home. Poor guy. Dennis Brule had a win. Said he tuned his truck this week and nothing broke. Hey, 325 Sonoma. What's going on, Josh? Hey, iHope. Not much going on in the garage this week. As I said, we picked up the new Jeep Gladiator. Technically, it's Mrs. Garage's new Jeep. She had a Sahara Unlimited, and we went and got a Gladiator instead, so we'd have something that we could tow cars to the track. She was very nice and let me sway her decision. And by sway her decision, I mean she said, oh, I like those new Jeep trucks. And I was like, let's go to the Jeep dealership tomorrow. Yeah, sorry to hear it, John. Hopefully they found out soon enough to reduce the spread. You know it, budget. It's still the Pentastar, VJ. Oddly enough, that Pentastar, I was reading up on it. You know, this will be my 3rd Jeep with the 3.6 liter Pentastar. Clint, it's that Sting Gray. It's kind of like the flat gray, the Nardo gray looking stuff. The Pentastar, they're not offering the 2-liter turbo on the Gladiator because it has temperature problems on something that big. Hey, Chris. And then the new diesel, for the same reason, isn't going to have the towing capacity of the Pentastar because of heat considerations. Brandon says, what have you done to the trans and the Super Auto upgrade-wise? I've not done anything to the trans, Brandon. I've replaced everything after the trans. Drive shaft, carrier, ring and pinion multiple times, axles. Hey, Zeth, good to see you, brother. Matthew, you can't watch that stuff. You'll get in your head. Hey, Chris, what's going on? Hey, Scuba, good to see you. Dennis says, aren't the Jeeps SD from the factory? They technically are. Yeah, they do not have a MAF sensor on them, Dennis. And they're all, for a while now, been using that neural network stuff. Good to hear it, Steve. You know, you can get away with the MAF only tune, but speed density really helps on transitional fueling, so that's why I always push for it. 325 Sonoma, the vibration has not been found. I'm hoping we're going to probably be doing a torque converter here soon. Hopefully that will sort it out. But honestly, because of how modified mine has gotten, I don't have much of the issues that I had with the vibration beforehand. Thank you, QA1, for your double adjustable shocks. Yeah, Nick, that's what you're saying. Good to know. Good to know. I've got the 6L80, Brandon. There you go. Jeremy says stay away from the Eco Diesel on the new Di 4-cylinder. I like the Pentastars for what they are. They're good. Hey, Chevy for Life. Just now saw you. I would tell you hi if you say something. Clint, have I ever messed with the Python OBD2 library? A long time ago, but I'll be honest with you. I don't do much on Python. Oh, thanks, Hillary. I appreciate that. I don't do much on Python anymore, and particularly for talking on the CAN bus stuff. Once I discovered the Canny Logic stuff, man, that device is so amazing. Hey, Colin, there's Colin. He's one of our new guys. Oh, different Colin. Hey, Kyle, just order the ADM wideband from your link. It'll be here soon. Is it advisable to switch it between two vehicles or get one for each? I mean, you can switch it between two vehicles, Colin. And if I were to do that, I would just remove one of the front O2 sensors, unplug it. We fail those whenever we fail it whenever we go into tuning anyway, so we're not using those. So that's the easiest way to kind of move it between two vehicles. There's, if you want to get one for each vehicle, by all means, but you don't have to. That's over here throwing shade. What's a good engine Chrysler makes? Oh, excellent, Chevy. Tell your girlfriend hi. And that is not a euphemism or anything, people. How do you do what she just did? Oh, there's a $sign down at the bottom, Matthew. If you click that, you can super chat. Brandon, you should have. Throw a decal on there and let me know. I will send you a replacement. Keep me posted, Clint, on how it goes. I've written some very small programs in Python. I am a automation programmer, though, so I work in ladder and function block mainly. The car was too small, so you need smaller decals. Would one of the 2-inch ones fit on there, Brandon? I could send you a 2-inch one. I think I've got some floating around here somewhere. Sure, dirt floor. I know how you are. Not throwing shade. We will be. The weather's finally getting a little bit nice, so we're going to be getting Project Country Club out and shooting some spray videos here soon. I'm going to try and dive into doing the tap shift on it finally. I got some weird situation going on the PCS transmission controller where sometimes it doesn't want to shift into second, so I need to sort that out. I did not see that Chevy for Life. Gas, tires, and oil. Okay, good to know. Here I always thought it was Gran Turismo Omligado. Scott Stevens says, question for you, TH400 or 4L80? What do you think, Zeph? TH400 or 4L80E? TH400 probably has removable bell housing, right? I mean, it's a manual valve body instead of electronically controlled unit. There's arguments for both. I'm not a transmission expert by any means. Jeremy says, I have my Gen 5 running mint, got my idle holding 8 to 10 degrees. Congratulations on that. That's impressive. With 12 PSI and a big cam, but I'm on MAF only tune. Am I going to open a can of worms adding SD tune? Yes. Just remember, Jeremy, you can always go back to that MAF tune. So I advise going through the SD steps, kind of working your way through it nice and slow. Be very gentle on the changes that you make on the speed density map. And then at the end of the day, just throw the map tune back in it. Go out and drive it and have fun and remind yourself while you're doing it And don't get frustrated, because it's easy to get frustrated by the SD tune. Stick with it. Yeah, Clint, I'll be anxious to check it out. So make sure you share your stuff. DJ, I've only put about 2 pounds through it so far. I honestly, I don't drive it that often, and the last couple of times I've driven it, the roads have not been worthwhile. Theo says, want to install H&M shifter on my 03 Yukon. The neutral switch and reverse switch is a module on the side of the transmission fitted on the control gear shaft. Generally, Theo, you should find those switches. Well, depending on the transmission, some of them might have the neutral switch and reverse in the transmission itself, so it might be coming out of the TCM. There you go. DZ says 4L80 just for overdrive. Chevy for life. Send it to me again, brother. It's been a busy couple weeks. I apologize. It's not that I'm trying to ignore you or anything. There you go. There's Zeth, the pure race car approach. TH400 is cheaper to build and lighter weight. Jeremy, yes, you will benefit from it. You got to realize the primary area that you're going to be in speed density is in the lower RPMs and in transitional fueling. And so the transitional fueling is the big thing that it makes it worthwhile, because it is basically predicting what the fueling should be next. And so whenever you get on the throttle real hard, it will look at the speed density calculations and try and fuel for that, because the math may have a second where it needs to catch up. Math is better at steady state airflow. Vincent says, what do you think about trick flow 120s on a 5.3 naturally aspirated with a Holley high-rise intake 102? You don't need 120-pound injectors on that setup, Vincent. That's way overkill. You're going to have issues probably tuning the idle with 120-pound injectors on a 5.3. Now, if you were going forced induction or a lot of nitrous, I would say go for it. But my guess is on that setup, you would be perfectly fine with 80-pounders. You can really kind of easily calculate how far you need to go if you look at your duty cycle, see how close you're to 80%. Use that as a guideline to up your flow rate in percentage. So if you had 50-pound injectors in there and you're at 80% duty cycle and you're wanting to cut that down, say 30%, you need to take 30% of your 50-pound injectors, add that onto your 50 to get your final injector target rate. That will get you a better, kind of a ballpark of where you should be. What's going on, Zero? There you go. VJ's got an answer for you there, Theo. Steve Van Hook says, how do you know if you take the SD tune too far? I mean, you can't take it too far. You can get caught up in it and you can chase your tail, because you're going to get to a point where you're just not going to be able to get it any better. I shoot for, if I can get 5% rich in the primary areas, Steve, which is going to be below what your dynamic airflow switch to math is, that RPM limit to underneath dynamic airflow. If I can get that area underneath to 5% or so, we're looking good. And then above that, I just want it to be rich. Because it's a blended calculation above that. So it's not as critical. You just want to make sure below that you've got it dialed in. 5% is even if you can't get down to 5%, if you get to 6 or 7%, your closed loop system, which is generally always active whenever you're running primarily on SD, will make up for most of that, because you've got almost 50% adjustment through closed loop. Now, I don't advise running so far out that you're having to adjust. I don't like to have my closed loop system adjust more than 10% if I don't have to. So, hey, Jerry, what's going on? Nice, Atwoods. Hey, and Shredder. Clint says, do you think my car would start on a stock tune with a cam swap and headers? Just had it rebuilt, but I'm not sure if I'll even be able to get running to be able to tune it. Most likely, Clint, what you're going to be looking at is With the headers, you're going to have more efficient airflow. With the cam, you're going to have less efficient airflow down at the bottom end around idle. And so it might kind of break even down at the bottom end. Now, you're going to run very lean up top because of this setup that you're talking about. It will get running. Just start your tune out in the lower RPMs, keep it under 1500, get that area dialed in, and then start working up 1000 RPMs at a time. What up, Danny Z? Good to see you again, brother. Rudy, you can change. Yeah, you need to change your calculations for your transmission. He's asking about if a tune would fix his speedo. Change the rear end from junkyard and got a posse. Pulls hard, but she doesn't like to cruise at 65. You just need to go in there. There's a gear and tire wizard on HP tuners if that's what you're using. No worries, CP. Good to see you. Vincent, the injectors are free. Give her a shot. So you may just have to struggle a little bit on the bottom end on getting the idle dialed in, but throw a lot of nitrous at it. Paul says, did my map tune. It was a tad rich, turned everything back on, LTFT, DFCO, etc. Now it's a bit lean idle. Commanded is 14.6 AFR, running at idle 15 to 16 with long terms at negative 15. Where did you have your wideband installed, Paul? Because it sounds like you may have had an exhaust leak while you were doing your tuning, which causes you to over-enrichen, and now your long terms are having to pull some out. Did you reset your long terms also whenever you turn them back on? Shed for Life says, my Impala is a Gen 4 E38. I'm pretty sure throttle body isn't opening all the way. Would that be torque management? No, that would be virtual torque, not necessarily torque management. Torque management could be causing it. I don't remember if the E38 may not have virtual torque. Help me out here, people. It's been a while since I've been in an E38. It's something torque related, I can tell you that much. Hey, Atomic, good to see you. P59 doesn't have a labeled EGR pin out, but they're in the interwebs saying blue 55 would be the signal voltage. I want to add fuel pressure PID to log in HP2. That sounds about right. I'm pretty sure the EGR pin does work on the P59s. Probably wouldn't hurt anything to put a volt to it to see if it picked it up. Blake says, closed loop on the 80 side of the math. Transition under curve when it's Tuesday is the range you want to be in when the octane is greater than 87 and the cam angle is small dialed in. Blake, I'm not quite understanding what you're saying. Yeah, just because even if it is a P50R, it probably has an input on that pin. It's going to be OS determined, though, so you'll need to figure out what OS is on the ECU and then see if that OS supports some kind of input. Doesn't have to be EGR. There's multiple other inputs that are probably available on that are not being used. Sure, Ted. Thanks for stopping by. Theo, no, the ECU does not need to be compatible with the wideband because we are running the wideband directly through our tuning software. Brandon, what are you trying to bypass it for? Because it depends on where you want to bypass it at. Ted, yeah, I've got some guys down the road from me here that has a dyno that they've offered it up. We've just never gotten around to the point of having anything to really load up. Hey, Rick, what's going on? Good to see you again, brother. Hey, Mark H. Paul H, go into the scanner. There's a button on there that's... help me out, guys. What's the name of the button on the scanner? It's the green button. in the button row, vehicle special features or something like that. Underneath there will be a fuel tab, blah, blah, blah. And then underneath the fuel tab there will be reset fuel trims. Yeah, I mean, if they fit, Vincent, you can use them. You can use any injectors in any setup. You'll have to get the data and update the tune for the injector data. I'll look at it, Chevy for life. Scuba Sam says, I know you have mentioned a lot about resetting the fuel trims after turning the O2s back on. If you don't, does it take a long time to clean itself back up, or will it usually be way off? Both. So what happens is whenever you turn the O2s back on, the old long-term trims are still in there. And so that will make it look like your tune has gone to hell and back. And so you need to reset them. And then there's some certain platforms that even whenever you disable the long-term fuel trims, that the data in the background can still affect your logging. So check your LTFT table. Make sure that you're in open loop from the get-go, never going into closed loop. Check your LTFT table. Make sure there's no numbers. It should read 0 on the STFT and LTFTs. If there's data in the LTFTs, even if you are in open loop, that means that it is affecting your fueling table. Thank you, Paul H., for the sweet nitrous purge, brother. No problem, Clint. Appreciate it, brother. Dude, what is going on, Paul? Good to see you again, brother. Oh, gotcha, Blake. Okay, sorry, man. You want the little black box removed from trans. You just need to find the input for the switch and either open it or short it based on what it's looking for. Sure thing, Rudy. Thanks for stopping by the live chat. Blake, I mean, I appreciate you trying to get more people to watch. They're either wanting to learn how to tune or they're not. And, so it can be very dense, a lot of information to digest, one day at a time. And the nice thing about having all this stuff on YouTube is you can go back, watch it, absorb a little bit, go out and try some things, go back and watch it again, absorb some more. And I'm telling you, eventually all this stuff starts to click. And there's a lot of guys that are in here and girls that I probably a year ago had absolutely no idea what was going on with tuning, and can probably you can probably throw them in a car now and basically have them rip out a tune for you. Josh Robney says, why does HP tuners need updated so much? Can I just download the one that works and not have to update constantly to trade different bugs for new ones? Correct, Josh. Okay, so HP tuners update so much because they're constantly adding new features on the new vehicle side. So say they are tuning the 2020 Silverado and they find a new table, just one new table. They think it's valuable from a tuning standpoint. They have to put that new table in and then issue a new release. And it is just iterative. So they will update, a couple times a week sometimes. You know it, S10. I update constantly because I deal with so many people's files that it just, the latest version will always open the older ones. And so every once in a while I'll get a file from somebody that's running a newer version than me. Back whenever I was tuning though, I would maybe only update every couple months. And then it was if there was a specific feature that was being released for a platform that I needed. Brandon, I can't answer you that. How many credits is it? Do you know? Somebody's got to know how many credits does it cost to do real-time tuning on the 411s? Oh, shoot. So let's do a giveaway. Do a couple merch packs tonight. How's that sound? Through 25 Sonoma, I would hold on to that till the end. Oh, there you go. Nice, Paul. Glad to hear that they unlocked it. Okay, so it only cost $100 to unlock it. Prepare yourself for the raffle spam. Steve Hopkins asks, what spark plugs have you had the best luck with? I use NGK generally, just because it seems to be easy to figure out their heat ranges and part numbers. Just trying to think of what else has been going on. As I said, I'm getting ready to do tap shift on the transmission. Going to do some nitrous pulls, getting that thing ready to rock and roll. I've got to do some other cool stuff as far as bringing back bottle pressures. I'm still having trouble with my scanner, and they made me update every time for the latest beta. Then it fixes it for a week or two, and then find another problem I have to again. Sorry, Josh. I know it's frustrating, man. Good to hear it, Steve. That's the big thing is learning. Like I remember even back in the day when I got started, histograms used to like kind of confound me, and then the more that you get used to setting them up, they're pretty straightforward and logical. So it's there's a very steep learning curve, very 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 hard to learn, and then all of a sudden everything kind of starts to fall in place. It gets a lot easier. Okay. Nick asks, do you think we will get to a point where it is illegal to alter the factory tunes on our vehicles? Your opinion? I mean, it's probably technically illegal right now. That being said, I honestly do not know. There is, what is it, the RPM Act that's out there right now that's trying to uh, there's some stuff going on right now where they're trying to shut down and limit our ability to do a lot of this stuff. And it sucks. I'll just leave it at that. It is what it is. There's always going to be somebody that's cracking these ECMs, and they can't stop us from buying carburetors, so we could always go back. Diesel bros are a bunch of idiots. Atomic. If guys weren't out there purposefully building trucks to spew smoke into the sky, unburned diesel probably wouldn't be on everybody's radar. Danny Z says, I got 22 degrees in the wide open throttle range. Stock intake and has how much more do you think I have for an LS3? You can probably get another 4 on there pretty easily, Danny, maybe more. I keep bumping it up 2 at a time until you start seeing knock. Steve Hopkins, you would think that the Cam 4 setup was going to make it tougher, but there are dudes out there that are so scary smart, they will figure it out. McGruber says, hey, what do you like to see in a log file when somebody asks for help? Mash it from a stop or roll, etc. I like to see a little bit of everything. I like to see some idle, preferably cold start idle. Don't start scanning until the car is running, though. That's one thing I do ask. Don't scan. Don't start your scanner, and don't stop your scanner with the car's off. So if you start scanning, scan after you started the car, unless I specifically ask you to start scanning for a crank, and then stop scanning before you turn off the car. It skews some of your data, your fueling data. So always start and stop. And then generally I say that you want to scan once you're up to temperature, because there's a lot going on in the background based on temperature. And the majority of the tuning that we do is going to be under operational temps. So we want to focus on that. Then I say go out and just kind of do whatever based on what's going on. You can mash it. You can do a roll. if you're doing speed density, it's more important because you're trying to hit more cells, whereas on a mass airflow, it's all, one flat chart, and it doesn't care what you're doing so much as you're getting to maximum airflow. But on speed density, you've got a big grid and you want to fill in as many cells. So a lot of times you might be going 30 miles an hour in fourth gear and you're kind of bogging it to hit a new area of the map. Blake Griffin says, how much variation would you expect in an SD tune based on air temp? Same tune in 60-degree weather versus 80-degree weather. Does it change X per so much outside temp? Blake, that's a good question. I don't know that would necessarily be linear, but you're going to be a little bit richer in the 60-degree weather than you are in the 80-degree weather just because of the density of the air. So whenever you are tuning speed density at 60 degrees, if you go to 80 degrees, you're probably going to be a little bit rich, but the IAT is there to help sort some of that out. And then on top of it, your closed loop system fixes the rest of it. And then, of course, the mass airflow sensor doesn't care one way or the other what the temperature is. The 5.3 is the 325. What size heads will fit on a 325? You'll have to look at the bore size. Then you have to look at the intake and exhaust valve spacing to see whether or not the intake and the exhaust valves will fit within the bore cylinder. And then if they do, they may be shrouded, which may mean that you actually lose flow. So there is a downside to going to heads that are too big. Really? I did not know that, Zess. Zess says everything cathedral port will fit on a 5.3. I would have thought that the 6.2 heads would have valve interference with the cylinder. VJ. Oh, that's the other side that VJ brings up. Oh, okay. So yeah, it's the rec port heads. Yeah. Good to know about the cathedral ports. I did not know that. See, I learned something new today. And of course, as I said, VJ says that the heads will interchange, but they will affect your compression. So look at the volume of the heads. And there's a lot of calculators out there, are a lot of spreadsheets that people have done that will show you the effect on your compression by swapping over to those heads. Jeremy, I haven't even gotten on this one. I don't know if the 15s had the VVL and VVT. You would know more about that than I did, but I've had an 08, I've had an 06 that had the old crap motor in it. I had an 08, which I believe was the first year of the Pentastar. Maybe it was a 10. Then I had a 15 with a Pentastar. Now I've got a 2020 with a Pentastar. VetLife, I'm guessing that the deactivated because of something in the torque management section on your C7. As I said, I need to dig into that and look a little bit more what's going on there. I personally have not had that, but I don't have launch control. Launch control is a different beast altogether. I need to look at what modules are involved in launch control and kind of read up on the control strategy for launch control to get a better idea of how it works. Nick says, I'm jumped into an E38 with help of a fellow gearhead this coming weekend. Do you provide a service just to help us set up into SD so we can start tuning? Yeah, I mean, for the $15 tier on the Patreon, Nick, I could do something like that. Help you with a base file SD tune so you can start tuning from that. Check it out. There's a link to the Patreon at goatropegarage.com. It said it's $15 a month, get you email support. And I'm usually pretty good at getting back to you same day or early the next day, depending on what's going on. If I get a big weekend project going on, like I had last weekend, where I was literally doing body work, I just didn't have opportunities to get to my phone. And by the time I got done with the day, I was so exhausted, I crashed out. Those happen every once in a while, but during the week, I'm pretty good about getting back to you pretty quick. Theo, shrouded just means that the valves, as they sit in the cylinder, they're so close to the valve wall that it restricts flow around the valve. So you're effectively losing some area of flow from the valve because there's no airflow around the cylinder wall. But would the 243 heads be good? Be better for pushing boost 325? Yeah, VetLife, there's probably a solution. We just need to dig into it and figure out. Hmm. 2-inch valves too shouldn't hit the board or either. What is the main VE reversion limits, Josh? You're talking some way off topic stuff that we're not. That's not something that I necessarily want to get into the live stream talking about. That it's not something that you need to worry about. I can tell you that much. S10 issues. You think there are chances of Nintendo? Well, that would be an impromptu tomorrow or Saturday. Tomorrow, probably not. In fact, I'll say that there's not going to be one tomorrow. Saturday, we'll just have to see. I don't know what's going on this weekend. You didn't see a difference on 16 psi, but you did see it on the low end. Good to know, because I've been looking at some of that for doing a boosted junkyard block, and was starting to get off into the head stuff. I just kind of assumed that a lower compression one would probably allow you to run a little bit more psi, but you're already at 16, man. You're really flogging it. And if you're not having issues with the higher compression, I'd stick with that. I mean, I like that, Zev. 10.4 to 1 with proper fueling on it, man, you can really boost that, and you're not losing too much on the bottom end, still making a lot on the top end. Hey, Jaslyn. Well, Brandon, for the most part, that's true because you're forcing the air in there. Flow is less dependent whenever you're boosting because we're forcing air into an air pump, whereas on a naturally aspirated motor, flow is very important because we are trying to make it as efficient as possible. We exceed 100% efficiency whenever we boost it. Now, it can still cause some restrictions on the boost side of it. In fact, with a better flowing motor, you'll run lower boost yet make more power. But it is less critical. So, something to keep in mind. Yeah, I know, Theo. I'm just sitting here reading all this and absorbing all this great information in the chat right now. That's why I love the Thursday show so much, is because I get surrounded by people that are smarter than me. Broadening my horizons on a lot of this stuff that I don't get off into the weeds that often. Triple X is back. Was a good wide open throttle AFR for cam and headers 5.3. I'm guessing you're talking about port injection and not direct injection. 12 and a half. 12 and a half is kind of the sweet spot on NA. You're not going to get any more power necessarily by running leaner, and you're not going to get any more safety by running richer. Hey, Nick, nothing wrong with that, brother. I've had plenty of four-cylinder cars in my past, and one rotary. Mmm. Danny Z, any recommendations on where I can make any sense of a Coyote tune? I pulled one from the repository, and it's like I haven't learned anything from looking at those. Yeah, they are working on much of the same fundamentals, Danny. It's just that the tables are not set up the most uh, efficient way of viewing them as a tuner. So you're going to have to dive in, and it's got its own table calculation, but then it has all the different, not zones, but modes, I guess it would be called. So if you're in this mode, it's pulling all of its fueling data from this VE table. If you're in this mode, and so you got to do a lot of backtracking to see which table setup it is using, and all of those are basically uh, coefficient calculations. So you need to deconstruct and trace back to see which tables that you're using, so you can target the tables that you need, because there's more tables in there than are being used. Some of them have like 53 or 70 some tables, and it's not using that many. It's only probably using a handful of them. Triple X says one more thing. What about time at wide open throttle? That's all dependent, but if you can shoot for mid 20s up to the 30, you're probably looking good. Just keep an eye on your knock sensor. Might be able to even get into the mid 30s depending on the platform, but that's very dependent, and you just have to feel it out. Steelers is installing some headers on my C6 Z06. Steelers, are you in Pittsburgh? I probably asked you that before. Vet Life, I want to know if the shop unlocks my ECU to tune my car, do I have to pay again to street tune my car a little more on my HP tuners? You do, unless you can convince them to use your copy of HP tuners. Jocelyn, I appreciate it. Thanks for stopping by the live show. What's going on, Steven? Yeah, man, there's a lot of buttons, tables in those files, but as I said, it's not using as many as it may look. Nice. Remember, everybody, we've got a merch pack raffle, 2 merch pack raffles. We'll do 2 tonight going on right now. So if you've not already entered the raffle, type in !raffle to get your ticket. There's about 10 minutes left on the timer, so we will wrap it up right before. Brother, I know. I was Pirates season tickets holders 2 seasons ago, and I just couldn't do it again last season. And obviously, with the way it's going this year, there probably won't be the option. But there's a good chance I'll probably do partial seasons again. I was hoping you were still around here, man. I wanted to check out your C6. I believe that the coronavirus has probably delayed my 2-post lift. S10 issues. Yeah, you'll want to turn off short-term fuel trims for speed density tuning. And get it to 5% rich, 0 to 5% rich. Steven, I have no clue about how to set the two-step up through HP tuners. That's not anything I've ever done. What rev are you using? A aftermarket rev limiter? Are you trying to do it through the stock ECU? I know some guys have figured out maybe ways of kind of doing a one through that, but yeah, sounds good, man. Let me know, Steelers. Nick says, "Can we just have a car enthusiast whiskey virus?" I'm more of a vodka virus myself. As I've come down with the Tito virus. Yeah, Steven, I don't know. As I say, I think there might be some guys out there that's figured out a way of doing it, but I don't know if it's going to be a reliable source of two-stepping. Tomas, thank you, brother. Glad to hear it. Thanks for stopping by the live chat. What's going on, Wallace? Good to see you again, brother. Uh, Colin, the STFTs and LTFT values are a percentage of commanded. So based on what the commanded won't necessarily always be stoic. 325. But for the most part, yes, it will be stoic because the narrow bands are only accurate on stoic. So you can, that's how you can use STFT and LTFT to kind of dial in your part throttle uh, tunes. And back in the day, guys would disable power enrichment, so you would always run stoic, which is super dangerous. But they could, that way they wouldn't have to buy a wideband. But honestly, if you are tuning, if you're going to tune, you're going to spend the money for the software. There's just absolutely no reason. I would say buy a wideband before you buy tuning software because it gives you an idea of what your vehicle's doing. Sure thing, Steven. If you figure something out, by all means, man, swing by next week and let us know what you figured out. Share that information. There's not enough sharing of information like that. Rudy, well, thank you for joining us. Be safe out there if you're driving, brother. There you go. Chris has some experience with it. I do not know Vet Life. I've done very few C7s. So I wouldn't be surprised if they had a no lift shift feature. Somebody in here probably knows. Well, S10, I mean, commanded is based off your stoichiometry table. So it's one and the same. So commanded is running off of your stoichiometry table until you go into power enrichment, and then it is running off your stoichiometric table with the power enrichment multiplier applied to your stoichiometric table. Thank you, Craig. Yeah, Steve, I'm the same way. I've got, obviously wide bands on both the truck and the car. And when I'm driving around, I just look. I'm loving the Terminator Exchange. I'm really happy with it. In fact, I was looking the other day at transmissions, and I wish I could get a 4L80 conversion for my car that didn't cost $8,000 because I would like to be able to move the transmission control over to the Terminator X since I have the Max. Unfortunately, I'm limited to cheaply swapping the transmission over to a 4L60, which, as we all know, is just not the most intelligent way of going over to a different transmission, but who knows? Yeah, I'm telling you, Scuba Sam, once you get a wideband in something and you see what's going on, it's hard to ever do anything without a wideband. Welcome back, Hillary. Paul, I'm sorry to hear that, but I would have loved to have seen it. Yeah, exactly, Atomic. You can get up and running on just short terms, but you can't really effectively tune that way. Yes, Josh. Whenever you are extending your VDE tables out, you will see some weird stuff happen because there are not numbers to calculate sections of the new table in there until you basically it creates those numbers, and so everything looks stupid crazy. above atmospheric, you need to go in there and kind of hand smooth all that out and level it out, because there will be some very bad valleys whenever you extend the VVE table. Nick, are there any games to open in 2014 Sierra ECU stock? You can. I mean, you might be able to get a little more power by leaning out power enrichment. You might be able to pull a little bit more timing, 2 to 4 degrees more timing on it. And then you could make some tweaks to the driver demand table to make the thing a little bit more responsive. Nick says, can I run the stock tune on a 5.3 Gen 4 if I delete VVT with an LS3 sprockets and disable DOD on HP tuners? Yep. Yeah, whenever you disable DOD on HP tuners, you're basically just disabling all of the DOD tables, which are separate from the standard fueling tables. Yeah, Danny Z, they make a 2-speed for that XLR, but it's once again an $8,000 swap from RPM. It's just the C6 Power Glide setup. I need RPM to sponsor me. I ain't got 8,000 sitting around. Dude, but Chris, do they really stand up to 1,000 horsepower? I mean, because if you could get a 4L60 that stands up to 1,000 horsepower, I would be tempted to go ahead and do the requirements to get a 4L60 in now, knowing that I could get a 4L60 that could stand up to 1,000 horsepower. I haven't messed with the 4L60s in so long, but I had a buddy that had a ProCharge C5 with a 4L60 in it, and I just remember him getting that thing rebuilt every other trip to the track. There you go, Steve. Yeah, that's about right, Atomic. Get rid of the DOD. Ugh. It's even worse nowadays. This Jeep's got that stupid shut off at stops, and somebody makes a device out there that you plug in and will remember the last setting that you had on turning that button off, so you don't have to hit the button every time. Of course, they're wanting $125 for it. I ordered one, but you can bet your butts I'm going to be cracking that thing open and seeing what's going on there. I'm guessing that I probably could have built one, but I don't think I could probably build one for less than $120. Triple X says, so does that mean if Stoic is correct in a certain cell, then PE in that given cell will be accurate? Should be. Triple X. Theoretically, if you are correct on Stoic, then whenever you go into PE, it's just multiplying the fuel delivery. Scroll up. I missed something here. What do you mean, Josh? Talking about the other menu, VE coefficients under speed density. Right. Exactly. 10K for a 4L60. That sounds awesome. Oh. Yeah, a 4L80 is cheaper, but won't fit on a transaxle without cutting the bell housing off. Hey, Dad. Right, Chris? Nobody used a Power Glide in the early 70s. Now they're the biggest rage. Atomic Punk, there is a separate starter specifically for that. Vet Life, no, HP Tuners does not have the capabilities to fine-tune boost per gear for the direct strip. You would need to get an aftermarket boost controller that you could bring gear into. What are you talking about, Josh? I got a tune pulled up here. Correct, yeah, I can get the bell housing to match with the 60E. Well, theoretically, I don't know. I need to look at the engine position on the backside. The torque tubes are different, so I got to figure out the torque tube combination. Honestly, Chris, I just got to jerk the North Star out. So we got to just start spraying that thing to death until it blows up so I can just pull it out. The raffle's up. If you didn't get in, come back next week. That way you have a chance of winning. I will do the drawings here in a couple minutes. We're getting ready to wrap up anyways. It's 8:56. That's pretty good on a 5,500-pound truck for a 60E. Commanded AFR is based off the Stoic table. Everything after that calculates against the Stoic table. Sounds good, Chevy for life. You are correct, Josh. It will change when you extend the table. The VU coefficients change when you extend the tables. The thinking why he'll calculate coefficients. It changes the table. Even whenever you apply changes to your virtual volumetric efficiency table, whenever you hit calculate coefficients, it will change the table to make the math work. So if you are looking at this table here, where you have your 26 zones in there, if you look at one specific zone, that is a calculation. And to make that zone work, to do the second order polynomial math that makes the math create the fueling strategy for that zone, if it is not compatible with the numbers that are in there, it will automatically shift those numbers to make it compatible. And so if you change the lower quarter of it and not touch the rest of it, it will shift all of this to make those numbers make sense. Yeah, Chris, that's the goal. We're going to LS it. So that's why you have to manually blend that stuff in. That way, whenever you calculate your coefficients, it doesn't go wonky and you don't see spikes or valleys on there. Okay, let's pick two winners. Let me find my mouse, which has not been acting up. I cleaned the sensor off. Apparently that helped. Okay, our first winner for tonight. Brandon, didn't you win last week? Are you winning everything, Brandon? Thank you, Steven, for the nitrous purge. Let's pick another winner. One Fast Daddy. Congratulations, One Fast Daddy. Okay. We'll do one more. We'll make it 3. And third one is Jonathan Galagos. Congratulations to our 3 winners of merch packs tonight. You know the deal. Hit me up at info@goatropegarage.com, or you can just go to the website and there's a contact us form at the bottom of the website. Send me an address or send me an email saying I won the merch pack raffle with your address, and I will send you some stuff. And if you are a patron, we're going to be starting a new giveaway tomorrow or Saturday. Atomic, I know you've won at some point in time. Okay, that being said, it's 8:59, so let's do the wrap up. Thank you, everybody, for stopping by tonight. Strong, solid turnout. I saw 7. We're at 71 right now. I don't know what the max was, but Appreciate everybody, as always, taking their Thursday night off to hang out with us, sharing the information. A lot of good information, a lot of good talk about different cylinder heads tonight. Awesome. Appreciate it, guys, bringing that knowledge in, sharing it. For some reason, if you had a question that I was not able to get to tonight, after the video ends, go down to the comments below, post it there. I'll try to get back to you. Make sure and check out the Patreon if you guys are interested in getting tuning assistance. It's $15 a month. Yeah, get your email assistance then. We may have a slot or two for the $75 tier for the one-on-ones. Honestly, I'm probably going to cut back on some of the one-on-ones just because we've been so busy lately. That being said, though, I've not put any limits on the $15 tier. So, yeah, love helping guys out. Love and appreciate you guys helping me learn, broadening my horizons. Thanks to all the new subscribers, all the new people that showed up tonight. Love seeing new faces in here. Thanks for taking the time. As I said, you know the drill. ABT, always be tuning. You guys have a great weekend. We'll see you next week.